Hi, everybody. I'm Jack Flynn. I'm here with Christy Campbell. She's the host of this channel. Hi.
Hey guys, how are you?
Hey,
Thank you all for
Christy.
being here.
Okay. So I'm here on Christy's channel. She invited me because of a live stream I did on Facebook regarding my visit to the Three Eye Atlas. I believe it was Monday night. I went on the Atlas a few nights ago. There's a lot of controversy surrounding the Atlas, what it is, what it isn't. I invited Kristy Wixon, here with me because she is Queen Aisha of the House of Maa'Kaa of the Holy House of Lyra. She's a genetic hybrid. I am a genetic hybrid. And of course, Christy Campbell, as well as a genetic hybrid. We are here to discuss what the Atlas is. Um, and just a little bit, Christy, I'll hand it to you to introduce yourself if you like.
Okay. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight on this pre-Halloween evening. I'm Kristy Wixon. I am a Lyerian Katai. I am a hybrid here on this planet. My royal family is called the House of Maa'Kaa, and my father is an admiral to the Holy House. This is a really important issue that everybody's been talking about, and it's great to have this opportunity to come on and talk about it with my brother Jack and sister Christy Campbell.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
I'm gonna let you open the floor, if you will, Jack, and explain what was going on last night.
Okay, so just a quick background. You guys, anybody can go on my Facebook and kind of get a background, and anybody that's seen my interviews, I started my memories started coming in for the SSP and the Super Soldier programs in 2008. Been dealing with this and integrating memories for about close to 18 years now. I recently went public in 2023 November, and I have been freed of my project contracts. I had the Pleiadian Starlight Defense League come in about, it was at the beginning of 2024, and that was through Kristy Mae Wixon's, her family and her associations got me to the place where I am today. And I'm very grateful for that, as well as meeting my counterpart in 2025 and going through that whole kind of twin flame, figuring out what counterpart journey is. My counterpart is connected to the Ashtar Command, and through her is when the Pleiadian Starlight Defense League came in and bought up my project contracts last September of 2024. Fast forward to now, they have been. I've been doing reconnaissance missions with them. I did not realize that because of who I am, what I am, where I've been, and what I've done, that they would require me to be a diplomat. Um, that is directly tied into my hybrid DNA to my genetics from Area 52 and Mars, from 1968 on forward through the Montauk projects and multiple that I'm not going to get into. This is a quick background. Um, the Atlas. So what I'm going to go into the Atlas and what the Atlas is. I was on the Atlas for a week. Now, people are like, well, how are you there for a week? I'm like, well, when you get off the planet, time stops, and then you go into the solar calendar and the galactic calendar and the universal calendar. So time moves really slow off world. You're like, well, did you do a 20 back? No, this was all forward motion. This is how it works. And the Atlas it's a progenitor ship. In fact, it is. So the Atlas was sent by the Universal High Council. And who the Universal High Council is the 26 creator species that seeded our universe. In how do you say, in together, united, and the Lyerians, the angelics, Kristy Wixon, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was Lyerian DNA, progenitor DNA is Lyerian DNA, it's angelic DNA, it's Christos DNA, and Chakzuri DNA.
No, no Chakzuri DNA. Well,
Not
actually, I can't see that. No, if you go back far enough, yes.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
There was a lot of different DNA. The Lyerians originally created the Andromeda races and some of the Arcturian races as well.
Okay.
But the Chakzuri, which we call the Chakzuri, the Blue Avians, they were separate from us, but merged with us later.
Oh, okay. See,
Yeah.
more history that I don't know.
I
That's why
know.
you're
The
here.
same. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, this is why you're here.
Hmm.
Uh so that is the progenitor blueprint for mankind, for the human basis of the human, I guess you could call epigenetics. And they were called progenitors. We think that progenitors, or I think that progenitors, we're talking like close to 500 billion years ago. Is that correct?
Yeah.
In that assumption?
It
Okay.
was over 550 million years ago.
550 million years ago. Okay. So the time space continuum, it's a little bit weird. So it is progenitor, which means the progenitors. Now, I watched an interview on Cosmic Disclosure. I'm going to reference Cosmic Disclosure. I know people like Cosmic Disclosure, this, that, the other thing. But I watched an interview with David Adair when he was at Area 51 and working on his plasma engine. And he talked about the progenitorship, which is over 1 million years old, that is buried in Area 51. This is what Area 51 was built around as a base, because they found a progenitorship underground. That progenitorship is tied in directly to mankind. Some of us have progenitor DNA going all the way back inside of our bodies, and that is what activated that progenitorship that he touched. So we do have progenitor. We have breadcrumbs to progenitor technology, to progenitor ships within the projects. This ship in particular is pre-Orion Wars. What it is the, like I said, the Universal High Council sent it, and the reason, I'll get into the reason after I describe the ship and what it is. So pre-Orion Wars and before the Dark Draco broke into our universe, there was no artificial intelligence. The technology was all light based, and maybe Christy, you can expand on the light ships from what this technology is based off of a little bit.
It's a plasma ship. Well, light ships carry a plasma. It's energy, it's frequency, it is alchemy put together. Yeah, there's a lot of technology that is used in crystals with my people. Again, the technology is just starting to be recognized down here in light therapy and phototherapy. It's also used to help with DNA activation. So there's a lot of different things, but this information is, I mean, this the information and the DNA that we work with is highly, it's in a crystal, it's being activated by crystalline, how do I say it, structures. And some of the Lyran technology is still used in the inner sanctum. So, but this stuff is ancient. It's ancient technology, and it's sentient too. A lot of it's sentient.
Mm-hmm. To expound on the sentience a little bit, so there's this legend. I mean, that about the seven sisters here on this planet in particular. The seven sisters had a brother, and the Lakota natives actually have I would say, have a legend about the seven sisters and about their brother. The seven sisters' brother was the blue star in the Orion system. Now, previous to the wars, this star was actually starting to die, and the progenitors, or I should say, the Lyerians and some other species that formed I think it was the Ashtar Command, pre-Orion Wars. They came upon the star that was dying. They wanted to help the star. They didn't know what to do. So there was some kind of a communication between the light-based crystalline technology progenitors had, and the star, and the conversation went around to, we're going to help you, and in exchange, because the star was dying and it was starting to go out, the star, because okay, stars are beings, first of all. They are entities. They are connected, they are tied into the life and livelihood of the the universe. You pop enough stars, the universe is going to start to degrade. That's what happens.
Part of what
And
we
the
call
reason,
the eternal thread. Yeah, the eternal thread.
yeah, yep. It's part of the cosmic web. It's all connected. It's a roadmap, is what it is.
Yep.
The stars to the universe, and this is what the navigators see when they go inside of when they go inside the cosmic web. They can see the pathways, and they navigate the pathways with their ships to different stars or different star systems. They can see it. So this star in particular made an agreement with the progenitors that they gonna save the star with, I don't know, somehow they're gonna save it. I don't know exactly the story, but I know that there was some kind of an exchange. The star actually compressed itself into a gem. I don't know exactly how big, because you got to consider the size of stars, but I have seen star hearts before. It compressed itself into a gem, and what they did is they began to work with the stars, and the stars began to work with the progenitors, exchanging information about the universe, about stars, about planets. And this is where the Starlight Defense League, or the Star League, was born, was out of this exchange with this particular blue star in the Orion belt that was dying. So what they did is they figured out how they built a star drive, and what they did is they built a unit to house the compressed gem of the star, and then the star communicated with the ship, which is alive. Right? We got light technology, ancient technology. This is a 12th dimensional ship, and we have, mankind was supposed to have 12-strand DNA. Ioni had 12-strand DNA, so you could connect to the stars. I'm going to get really heated and keep going. So if you guys can interrupt me and ask me questions, that's fine. I'm
just taking writing my light language while you're
okay.
talking.
Okay. Yeah. So the stars themselves, the progenitor DNA, the 12-strand DNA that we're supposed to have, if you've ever seen A Wrinkle in Time or read the book A Wrinkle in Time, that is what humanity is supposed to do. Your DNA, when it activates fully at 12 strands, you can open interdimensional portals in a fucking spaceship. You can just walk right through it. The humanity was designed to be the co-creators and caretakers of this universe. That was the intended design by the 26 seed creator species and the Christos consciousness itself for this universe. And Christy, if you want to expound on that just a little, however, take as much time as you want.
Okay. Yeah, the original Christos, I'm going to go back to a little bit. The original Christos genetics were founded from what we call the Giovanni Collective. So the Giovanni Collective was a collective that was created from prime source creation, prime creation. It was being created within the primordial light fields, right outside of the void. This collective took its consciousness, and it was a positive collective at the time. And I do want to elaborate on this a little bit. So out of this collective, this is important, there came another collective called the Metatron Collective. Now, Metatron was not a bad collective at this time, nor were the Giovanni Collective. And this is part of where the original founder races were created from. But what happened is there was a split in consciousness, and when something happened to separate the consciousness, the prime consciousness, from source, they fell. And when the Giovanni Collective fell, then Metatron fell too. Actually, Metatron fell first, and the Giovanni Collective went in to save their child, which was Metatron, and they fell as well. And they'd chosen to stay in that fallen space. Separation from source. So what the DNA, the 12-strand DNA was all about was being that you could connect to your source codes, to your original genetic blueprints, your original coding from source, which all of us had. And some of us stayed connected and some of us chose not to stay connected. So from that down, it was choice. It was free will to decide whether we all wanted to stay in this collective of source and have our DNA stay, they have the activations be available, have that there. And some of these entities decided they didn't want to, and they chose to walk another direction. So I just want to put that out there. There's many beings that are still connected to source and many that have chosen not to walk with source anymore.
Yep, correct. The fall, and I mean there's so much out there actually now, information about the Orion Draconian Wars. The Draconian Lyerian Wars stopped. The peace treaty was signed in 2024. Kristy was there with her family. I was there at the Universal Council reading the Universal Laws of One, because I'm directly tied into a Hanovan collective of the 26 creator species as a helper that was made by the Immortal Nine created me. My original DNA blueprint is from the elementals that created the multiverse. They called me Vengeance, but my real name is Segarath, Shadow of the Fallen, because when the universe began to fall, I shadowed the falling of it into this particular universe to watch and to observe everything that was happening. And there's many watchers. I am just one of the watchers here. My place in this universe is a delegation, and to watch and to report and to witness the ascension of humanity coming into projects to make sure and to ensure that humanity ascended back to their original 12-strand DNA blueprint. That is my job. That is why I'm here. The delegation and the reason why I am doing this is because there are not a lot of, I would say, archangels in this universe. I was raised with the archangels in a place called Hanova, which many people think is heaven. It is heaven, but Jeshua's kingdom itself is in Hanova. So you have the kingdom of heaven, which is Jeshua's kingdom in Hanova, with archangels, with all the goodness that we read about. And, and that's why we're so attracted to angelics, is because angelic DNA is in our blueprint. It's in our very DNA, along with the Christos. And so tying it all in, the Universal Laws of One were read to the entirety of the Universal Councils, which is the entirety of the species of this universe had representatives there. The whole point of this was because the wars were they were deconstructing our universe, basically. If the wars continued, our universe was going to implode on itself, and the time-space continuum itself was going to do this. They was just going to be gone. There'd be nothing left. And that would start a chain reaction into the multiverse. That was a problem, right? So the wars ended. A pact was signed in 2024 at a Universal Council between the Draconian factions and the Lyerian factions, which were the two main aggressors in the wars. And every other species kind of picked a side and was like, hey, we're going to go with the Orion Syndicate. Hey, we're going to go with the Lyerians. And they just kept fighting. Planets were blown up. Stars were blown up. And entire species were wiped out. And that put out such an, I don't know how to say it, Kristy, maybe you can help me out with this. It put out a wave of energy to the universe that was basically, there was too much death happening at the time.
There was order need to be established at that time, and so that was what was brought forth, was the star delegations. They were called the star delegations, and the negotiations, and they all started within the high councils, the Syrian, the Pleiadian, the Lyerian, and these councils took their delegations to the high court systems. And then there were translators that would translate some of these species, because not all of us can understand each other, even in the high councils or the intergalactic council meetings. And so there was a lot of that going on. I was one of them. I was allowed to be there at that time. My father allowed me to be there. And so I could understand what was going on. But then as time went on into the next year, I decided that I wanted to help humanity. And so at that point, I was asked to write books on ascension and to be here to help with the ascension of humanity. So that's what I'm doing right now. So that was the reason why I wasn't allowed to go on the Third Eye Atlas this time, because my mission was down here on the earth and to fulfill what I agreed to do. Because I also have a Hanovian contract with the Kuite, which are mantid beings, but I also have agreed to my own contracts with Source to uphold humanity's, I guess, the endeavor of helping them ascend or awaken to the point where we can raise our own frequency and raise the Earth's frequency. But that's, yeah, it's a lot going on. So Jack knew about all the star delegations at the time. He was involved, and he was also, my father worked with him quite a bit, and he was allowed to carry that information forward and to do, I guess you would say, off-world missions within some of the star sectors or the star councils within the certain sectors. Mm-hmm. And so that's why he was also allowed to go where he went onto the Third Eye Atlas and gather and retrieve the information and to bring it back to many of us, including me. And there's many others of us out there that have been on the ship that are remote viewing and also being directly there physically. I can say that physically because reality is just a bending of time anyways. So
that's all it is.
Yeah. So I'm going to let you go back with your story here before we get off subject.
Before we get I'm just laying the foundation for the reason why the 3 Atlas came and is here, because we are at the precipice now. The negotiations were, project was supposed to be disassembled. Humanity and the contracts on humanity, the DNA contracts that the Dark Draco had and the Anouk had on humanity during the wars, while they're invading our DNA during the Lyerian Draconian Wars, that was supposed to be broken, and they were supposed to be set free. The whole entire planet was supposed to be set free because Earth is very special and holds a special balance place in our universe. I guess that's like a 3-year-old saying it, I know, but that's basically what it is.
Actually, Earth is the heart chakra she holds the heart chakra energy.
There it is right there. Yep. Thank you, Kristy. Like, I'm trying to speak. I don't know. So, that was supposed to all happen. And so the last couple of years that Kristy and I have been working together, along with somebody who I'm not going to name, there's a few people we've been working with, part of it's cleanup. We did some cleanup, as well as taking out the factions that were continually to oppress this planet in particular. Now, I have it on good authority. So they're here in particular, this 12th dimensional ship with the star heart from the Orion star is here in our dimension. You can see it with the naked eye through a telescope, dude. I would encourage anybody that's an amateur astronomer, take your telescopes, point at the atlas, start snapping photos of it, start filtering those out, start processing those photos, and bang it all over the internet. That way there can be no naysayers anymore. So all that stuff was supposed to happen. The projects was supposed to disassemble. I went into a negotiations with Trump and Kamala and the current ruling families, I guess you could say, here in Seoul, the ICC, well, it's actually 26 ruling families here. And we had negotiations in, it was July of 2024, where I sat down with Trump. Trump is not the guy on TV. He's about 6'4". He's a square jaw. He's very muscular. Not the guy that you see there. He is a time traveler. The whole idea was I was negotiating for projects for freedom for humanity. So that didn't happen. There's still leftover remnants here of Dark Draco factions. They're dragging their feet. So the Universal Council, the Immortal Nine, they're like, you guys need to go and make yourselves known to humanity on Earth. And so that is why the delegation is here. Number one, it's strictly diplomatic. That's the first thing. There is no, now there is a fleet behind the Three Eye Atlas. There's, I think, 5 or 6 starbirds that's about as tall as the Atlas. They are here as a fuck around, find out. Pardon my French, but that's how it's a gun to the Dark Draco factions left over here to their head that you do anything, we're going to pull the trigger. You're going to get annihilated. You're just going to get wiped. That's diplomatic, and that's twofold. They are also here to show themselves, so the space agencies and the governments can't lie to the people anymore. So the people can throw off the chains of their oppressors, because this is revolution, and we would rather there not be any bloodshed in this revolution. That's the whole point of them being here, because as soon as the apocalypse happens or the revelation happens of this Atlas to humanity, there's going to be nothing that can be said anymore about it. That's just going to be it. There's a lot of questions. I'm sure, are they going to land? Are they going to come here? Now, my experience, what I experienced on the Atlas. So Monday night, I phased out onto my ship, which is the Dauntless. It's a Class 3 Hyperion battle cruiser that I was gifted by projects. Actually, it was by the Draconians and the Mars Germans. They made it specially for me. It's my flagship that I use to campaign with the Mars Germans and the Thubans off-world into invading other star systems and for other wars. That is my flagship. I was a commander of what was called the Iron Star Brigade of the Thuban Empire. I had my own brigade. I had my own fleet. So this particular ship has been in geostationary orbit. It follows me above where it's connected to my energy signature, and it follows me wherever I go. I phased out on my ship. We took a trip over to Venus, which is where near where the Atlas was. I took a fighter out of my ship, and I flew to the Atlas. On approach, there was a massive amount of light, and I actually had to put a filter down on a filter on my cockpit, on the glass on my cockpit, because it was too bright for my eyes to adjust to. There are literally thousands of tiny craft that are going around the Atlas, buzzing around, doing whatever they're doing. I'm assuming they're patrolling, moving around. There's a Stargate on the Atlas too that is, here it is, sis. It's connected to Hanova. It's connected to Hanova.
Okay.
Directly. Yeah. This is, I don't know how it's an ancient Stargate. It's on the ship, and I think it's always been on the ship. I think actually it's one of the very first Stargates that was ever built.
Is it part of the sentient part of the ship, where it's kind of the body?
It's connected. When I looked at it, it like the foundation went into the floor.
Okay,
it was
so
connected. It all like flowed into the floor of the mezzanine.
The ship is a Stargate. That's what I'm feeling. I don't know. I'm not asking you. Maybe it's a possibility. It could be.
So that's what I saw. So as a Stargate on it. So I on approach to the ship, I was met by a contingency of fighters, and they escorted me to Hangar Bay 152, where I was escorted in. I landed my ship, and I was met by a delegation of some of the creative species there. what I remember is the Chokzuri, Lyerians. There are dark elves on board. They're about 20 feet tall, completely black skin. They're there as well. That is what I remember the delegation being. Now, mind you, I was there for a week. Time and space was kind of just like squiggly a little bit because uh, it's a 12th dimensional ship. There's light bending everywhere, and my DNA was activated while I was on the ship. So I was actually able to somewhat adapt to what was happening during this time. Now, it's not third dimensional. Now, what I saw and what I witnessed looked in my mind and processing in a third dimensional way, but it's not third dimensional at all. The entire, they say the ship is about 3 miles long. Its interior, it's about 6 miles. What I witnessed too. We walked into what was the entire ship. You walk in from the hangar bay, and immediately it goes into what looks like it's a mezzanine. And I say mezzanine, it's a wide corridor. It's about a mile wide. There is some sort of like pavement, hard ground on it. Surrounding all the way down is all greenery, trees, pools. Um, they had shops, just anything and everything that would make a trip that was through the stars like this very comfortable. They grow their own food on the ship. They have greenhouses dedicated to the how can I explain this? Okay, so it's the entire ship is affecting the time-space continuum of our solar system. It's raising its frequency higher and higher. This is why everybody's tired. This is why people that are on the planet, everybody's like freaking out because they don't know what to do. Their DNA is like going, everything's just going crazy right now. Yes, sis?
It's also affecting everybody emotionally.
Yep.
I've noticed. So there's a lot of emotional highs and lows going on for everybody.
Yeah. I've been tired and kind of headache too when I wake up.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not surprised.
It's vibrating your pineal gland is what it's doing, because you talk about human junk DNA, there's no such thing as junk DNA. That junk DNA that they classify as junk, that's the 12-strand DNA. You only have 2-strand. What it's doing is it's vibrating your pineal gland. It's freaking so it's bringing your consciousness and levels of awareness up really fast. Those who are ready for it, it's going to happen. Those who aren't, it's not. The interesting thing, so that's what it's doing. That's why everybody's freaking out. And then sorry, I'm kind of all over the place. So the star drive, there was also an event with the 3i Atlas. I'll get back to the interior of the ship in a minute here, but the star, so when it went around the sun, it began to shed its asteroid exterior shell, which is primarily made up of nickel and a bunch of minerals and everything else that it picked up on its journey. It's like a magnetic pole. And so that's the encasement that was protecting it on its interstellar journey to here. And that's why everybody's like I said, it looks like an asteroid. And then it comes here and all of a sudden you see it was like all this light bursting out of it, right? It went around the sun, now it's out. Now you can actually see it. So the burst of starlight directly when the sun shot a beam of light at the ship, that was the star drive, which is an ancient blue giant compressed gem. That was our star talking to the star drive and fueling it up. Yeah, they needed fuel. That's why they were around the sun, because they did refuel for the journey all the way back to where they're from.
It's their trajectory that they were being, it's part of the trajectory.
Yep. 100%. Fueled up. So back to the mezzanine. So the mezzanine, it was the interior of the ship does not match the exterior of the ship. And Christy, you explain that to me, what the folding thing was that you talked about.
Oh, that's kind of the vault. It's called the vaulted fold. So it's when actually, okay, because you have the time fabric continuum, And so time space doesn't exist in the higher dimensional frequencies as it does down here. So in these higher dimensional frequency bands, and the layered fabric of the cosmos, there is certain areas where the layers of the reality fold in upon itself, and it changes the structure of everything, and it's called the vaulted fold. It's not easy to explain, not even for me. But it does exist, and it is out there. It's like a pocket or a ripple, or if you were to see like a whirlpool somewhere, that's what it would be, but only in space-time.
It really, it kind of just, it messed with my head a little bit, because I was like, wait a minute, the exterior does not match the interior. There's a
Yeah,
Stargate in here, and what the fuck is going on? I had two guides with me. One, they're both female. One was a Chauxuri species, of the Chauxuri species. The other one, Christy, this is kind of a trip. So I got their names. I have their names written down, which I did not bring my notebook with me. I apologize. They said I could introduce them. Tonight's not the night. So is a Katai female from Maa'Kaa.
So one of my cousins, her sisters or somebody
Yeah,
there.
one of your cousins.
Yeah.
It looked almost identical to you, but it was not your energy signature. I was kind of tripping. I was
Right.
like, at first I thought, my mind is like, is this? And I was like, and her energy signature, she's like, no. I was like, oh, okay, kind of thing. The other thing I didn't mention was that as soon as I got into the mezzanine, it was lit the fuck up. Pardon my French again. I apologize. I'm using words, very descriptive words, because I don't know what else to say. Like human words are escaping me for the description what I have for what I experienced while I was on board. So the sides, 500 how do you say levels on either side.
Wow.
There are houses, there are apartments, there are mansions, 6 miles all the way down, straight down, compartments for these different species. And they had their own like areas that they lived in, Chauxuri, Lyerian, and the rest of the creator species with each other. But they are always intermingling. They're always talking. There was always something going on while in the mezzanine. But the entirety, there were streamers coming down the sides like there's a big parade happening when I showed up. Okay, I was shocked. I was like, what the hell is this? So there's a procession 6 miles down the way. All the way down. And while we walked down, we were looking at the different decorations. We were looking at the different architecture from these different secret. I mean, it was just a menagerie of architecture, of technology, of lights, of anything and everything you can imagine, as wide and as big as the universe, with these species and their created and their technology. That's what the Atlas looked like on the inside. I mean, the mezzanine kept going down. We kept walking down the mezzanine. We got to the end where there was a big stage that was set up. Behind the stage, actually, was it the stage? It was the Stargate. Was actually what it looked like. The Stargate was high enough. The stage was on level with the Stargate. Okay, the Stargate was on, by the way, when I showed up. So we got on. Yeah. Yep. The Stargate was on when we showed up, and let's just say it was big enough to allow 20-foot beings to walk through it. Let's just put it that way. It was big enough for that. It wasn't Titan size, but it was big enough for them to walk through, or maybe to crawl through. It almost felt like, because of the time, space, interdimensional, they could probably get bigger and larger. I would imagine
probably.
with the fold, because it was one.
So.
I would imagine so. But when I showed up, it was about 20 feet, and it was a Stargate. It was on. There was a delegation there from each creator species, and what they had done is each of them on the stage, they had 26 of them had gotten up from each species, each delegation, and they kind of surrounded the stage, on the stage. I sat in the middle and we had a ceremony. Gabriel showed up. Older bro showed up. That was something else, dude. For me, because I am Hanovan, it was like a homecoming for me. For me personally, this was very personal. I wasn't going to share this because I don't want to put the focus on myself. This is just something that I experienced again while I was on board. The rest of it's kind of a blur right now. A week on a 12th dimensional ship, it kind of just time didn't you didn't even there was no time to keep track of. It just was everything happening all at once, and is separated by God knows what, because I haven't been on a 12th dimension in what feels like thousands of years for myself personally. But for my soul, it recognized it as home because it was it's progenitorship. There's a lot more coming in. So 12th dimensional ship, 12 strand DNA, raising your frequency and vibration. That's why they're here. It was a blur after that, and then I remember being taken after the ceremony to what looked like I think it was a salon or a spa, and they had some kind of a tub that had electricity and light in it, but you would immerse yourself in it. You wouldn't get wet. You'd sit in there and it vibrated your cells is what it was doing. It's vibrating my cells, some kind of light therapy. And I remember feeling it's like, whoa, 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 doing something to my cells. I would imagine it's therapy. I've been really tired because I've been off world, right? The rest of it, what I didn't get to see any of the engineering compartments. I didn't get to see I didn't actually get to see the star drive itself. But having been in the projects, having have implants in back here, I have a scar where they implanted me here. I had an implant from that particular star as a progenitor implant in my right here, I think it's medulla oblongata right here, and as well as in my shoulder here. And in 2020, I think it was 2023, they woke up and they began to talk to me, and it began to show me about this particular star. And this is where I got the information was from directly from the energy from this progenitor implant in my body that was talking to my cells and speaking to me. It was actually a consciousness in my body, an external consciousness. I didn't get to see that, unfortunately, but I felt the presence of that blue star on board, and I was like, no effing way, dude. I was tripping the whole fucking time. So the rest of the tour we came back towards the back of the ship, and the Katai female and the Chokzuri female, they led me to this. So it was sectioned off towards the back. There was the 6 miles forward. We got to what looked like it was a tunnel is what it was, but it was flat on the ground. It was some kind of a darker, smooth stone, and I'm not sure what kind of stone this is. But the entire tunnel was made of it, and it was all smooth around the top. It's about 20 feet. I'm relating what I saw and what I can relate for feet, because we can relate to feet, meters, whatever. But it was decently wide. It was a little less wide than the mezzanine, so it's probably I want to say it wasn't wide enough for a lot of people to get through. It's probably maybe 80 to 100 feet wide, about 20 feet tall. Now, as we walked down, we got to about probably 30 feet into this tunnel. The tunnel was it was longer than it was wider, but it divided the ship. The beyond was all dark, what I saw. It was not inhabited. All the lights were off, the power was off, but there was no door, but I'm assuming it was hermetically sealed. They opened the doors for me to see what was in it. Now, I did see the plaque on the side of this wall on the right side of this tunnel. It was a metallic plaque. It had some kind of I want to say alien writing. I thought it was Martian, but it's not Martian, because ancient Martian isn't really even Martian, because Mars was a refugee planet from the wars. So I recognized the writing. I did not decipher it, but they had the star date of the ship's commission. The star date was 2. It was in our. It was actually it was in our. It was 2500062 was the commission date of this particular progenitor ship of our star date, which we are way fast forward of that time in our universe.
Mm-hmm.
The impression that I got from my guides, the Katai and the Chakzuri female that were my guides, the impression I got is that it was an arc.
Makes sense.
There was nobody on board behind it. That was the only reason I could think, was for some kind of either a pickup, an escort, but in particular, because they didn't pick anybody up, I'm assuming it was for elements of humanity here on the planet currently. Now, I'm going to tie that into the negotiations that I had with Trump and Kamala about the project assets that I negotiated for their release and their contracts to be canceled, because Hanova had enough. The Immortal 9 had enough. The 26C creators had enough. And I'm assuming, and I may be 100% wrong on everything on this, but I'm assuming, because there's right around 300 million assets in the projects over the course of probably we're just going to say since Atlantis and currently as well. I'm assuming it's big enough for that many assets. Now, I'm not trying to give any false hope. This is just what I've picked up from it. Another thing about the Atlas is that if you have 12-stranded DNA, when your DNA goes 12-stranded and fully activates, you will connect to the ship itself. And you will, because of who you are and what you were created to be as mankind, you won't need an escort fighter or a ship to get there, because it will be connected directly into your crystalline DNA, which ties you directly into the ship itself, because it's alive, because it's crystalline light DNA. It kind of just zips you on the ship. I personally don't know if it's going to land, but I do not think, with the size of our planet and it being a 12th dimensional ship, that it would. That is just my opinion. I don't know. That's just what this is as far as I've gotten with what I was allowed to see, witness, and relay here.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that.
So if you guys have any, Christy Campbell, do you have any questions or anything to add?
Yeah, I just wanted you to expand on when you saw me on the 3rd floor with that to kind of re-jog my memory.
Yeah. Okay, thank you for bringing that. I was actually going to mention that during the procession. So when I walked into the mezzanine and there was a big parade happening, streamers, like, big celebration happening. There's a Lyerian female on a balcony about 3 levels up, and she wasn't that tall, actually, and I can confirm that was you, Christy Campbell, that was there, and she had kind of it was tan skin or darker skin. There were some stripes on it, which would lead me to believe it was either some kind of a hybrid Lyerian mix, but the energy signature had your energy signature on it, Christy. And it was immediately, I looked up to it was almost like I was supposed to look up there. She was standing there on the balcony. She waved, winked, and gave me a smile, and then I saw you jump down off 30 feet off the balcony, land very gracefully, and you ran up, bounced up to me, kind of just bounced up, gave me a side hug, and then just bounced off back to whatever you were doing. That's what I remember. That was very, very, very particular memory. A very particular event that I have of being on the Atlas was you were there, right there.
I was trying to see what I was doing on there too. Like why, because it feels like I've been up there for a while, like just almost living there too, or maybe with someone, with someone else, like my family part of it. I'm not sure. What do y'all feel from that? Do you think?
I definitely feel like you're with us, with the Katai, you
Mm-hmm.
know. I can actually light speak when you guys talk. So as you guys are talking, I get images of things, and that's called light speaking. So it's kind of a form of remote viewing, but only during talk. So I can see things. I can see the whole thing happening. But yeah, you're definitely. I saw you when you were speaking, and when Jack was speaking about, I could see the balcony and everything. I could see you. You were engaged in something you were definitely working on. You were involved in, but you had the time to come down and say hello. It also seemed like there were millions of other species that were walking around doing other things as well. So
Mm-hmm.
it kind of like a busy mess hall kind of thing. There was a lot of action and a lot of things going on.
I keep
But
seeing it like a shopping mall, at Christmas
It
time or
was
something like that.
it was very crowded.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Not in a way where it was overcrowded, but there
mm-mm.
were crowds everywhere of these
Yeah, you had
species
space. There was
interacting.
a lot of
They were they
space.
were they were they were busy amongst their lives doing just
Mhm.
everyday things, whatever they did on their planet
Right.
or where they're from. That was just an extension of what they're doing here. Nothing changed. They were just on a journey to Earth.
Yeah, like a
Just,
city in there.
you can say that considering that it's 6 square miles forward and
Mm.
500 levels up going all the way down the mezzanine. Yeah, you could that's putting it
Mm-hmm.
mildly.
Right.
Yeah.
That's putting it mildly. I mean, it's a lot of space for a lot of cultures. It's unreal, really. My mind being back to the third dimensional, like, compressed space of this planet is just like, wow. That's just, I mean, my mind feels like it's kind of just it's on overdrive when I start to process and I start to think about it. It's like it can't even comprehend the entirety of the ship, the events that happened over the course of what would be an Earth week, which is not really a week up there. I don't even know how long, really, but that's the best way I can correlate it to here, as well as the size, the measurements of what I experienced myself on
Do
the
you want
ship.
to do you want to describe like the beings, because like the names, so people can kind of relate the species, like a feline or Lyran with the Katai, so something, or with the
So
Blue
yeah,
Avian.
so the Blue Avian in particular, when I see her, she does have blue. They were not clothed. They were very comfortable just walking around in their own, just on their skin. It wasn't anything weird. It's, there's a lot of species that do that. They don't wear clothes, and it's like, okay, that's cool. It wasn't anything weird. I was just part of it. But the Lyerian female looks similar to Christy in her Katai form, which is a tigress, an anthro-tigress. She was about 13 feet tall.
That's
The
about right.
Chok Zuri was about a foot taller. She was huge, magnificent. What I can describe for her, she did have blue feathers. Um, this is gonna sound weird. She kind of looked like a bluebird, like her head. She looked like a bluebird, but a very beautiful bluebird, because I remember she had a blue head, very light blue flavors, very airy, very fluffy. She did have a beak, but she was able to, I guess, seeing form words out of it. She had the ability to speak because it wasn't like a beak; it was kind of a shorter beak.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it was red. She had a red beak. Blue. The rest, her wings. Um, Wings had light blue. She actually had some gray plumage around her chest area. She had some gray plumage, and it was kind of divided up into different colors. There was gray, the red, the blue. She did have also some red plumage further down, like around her legs. I'm trying to think, like her thighs, I think had red plumage on it. I don't remember her name. I have it written down though. But they were very, how do you say? They were very courteous. They were very kind. Professionals all get out. Very, very professional. Not like they didn't invade my mind. Um, it was all telepathic. There were no words that were spoken on the entirety of the ship. Now there were noises happening and coming from these crowds of people, and noises everywhere because they have their own language they communicate in. But to me, they communicated telepathically. Is how they communicated to me. Oh, the colors of the shoes. I could feel the colors. What are the colors? Christy, was that you wondering the colors of the Katai?
The colors of the Katai.
The female. Yeah. Do you want to describe those?
Okay, so in the anthro felines.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, we vary.
Mm-hmm.
We can vary from tiger, like in my form, my true form. I'm a white tigress, but I also have soft brown spots as well. In different places. We mix well with a lot of other Katai or Irma, so being cousins of us. So at that point, we can vary. We can actually have hybrids of snow leopards. We can have hybrids of lynx, which are really rare. We can have hybrids of regular leopards. People call panthers, but they're really leopards. Black. So there's a variation. A lot of the eyes on our species vary from a blue, a really bright blue, to almost a violet. And some of of course, the darker melanistic cats have green to a really deep green color, an emerald green to a deep, deep green.
So my Katai guide, she had white on the top of her head that came down onto her snout.
Mm-hmm.
She had brindle patterns, so she did have stripes.
Oh,
They were black.
that's right.
They,
Mm-hmm.
they were black. They were black stripes. Her skin was orange. She was orange and black, and she had green eyes. They were bright green eyes that looked like they were. She could, the weird part about this is that she could make her eyes glow, and I've never seen a species that could do that before. So
Yeah.
this particular female had, she's warrior, so I imagine she had her own personal psionics that she dealt with, and she was also my escort, so she doubled as a bodyguard as well. I'm assuming that's why they put me with her. The Chokzuri female, she was of the Chokzuri High Council, so she was a council member, and not a warrior because I was a warrior. She was a diplomat. So a diplomat and a warrior that was.
She must have been a chancellor.
She was gorgeous, and I was just like in awe the entire time. I mean, when I get off world, I only grow to 6'8". People here have witnessed me growing before, like in variation in height. People actually witnessed me doing that. I've grown to 6'5" before. So off world, I get to about actually about 6'9". So you have to imagine me 6'9", which is Brad Olson's height. He's huge. Brad Olson's, that's tall as shit down here. Off world, that's kind of short with some species. They towered over me. They could have just stomped me out any second, really, to be honest. And I was just like, I have to admit, I was a little bit intimidated. I don't get intimidated, but just the sheer size, the experience of everything I was going through, I was like, okay. Just kind of, I'm like mind numb the whole time. I was just like, my mouth was probably open. They're like, who's this stupid hybrid on board? Who's this guy? But all in all, it was a very, very pleasant experience with everybody the entire time. Beyond that, I was besides Gabriel showing up for the award ceremony, which I'm not really going to go into details for because that's very personal for me. I have been here a long time. I have been through a lot. I have suffered. I have lost literally everything over and over and over again on this planet and off world. And for me, this was like a big, giant, warm hug from Hanova showing up to help me continue. Also, it was a graduation of sorts for me as an angelic because Gabriel showed up. Also, they were recognized, the 26 seed creator species were recognizing me as an official Hanovan diplomat to this universe in an official capacity. While being contracted and working with the Pleiadian Starlight Defense League, which is, again, it spans across the 26 species, man.
Yeah.
Yep. That is correct. So,
That's
yep. Beyond that, that's about as far as I've gotten with the recall, because last night I went on, well, actually it wasn't last night. So the night before last, which is previous to the night of being on the Atlas, I was on a few other ships with some other delegations that were behind the Atlas because they wanted to meet me. And in fact, your father Maa'Kaa, he is having me do more diplomatic duties. I guess he's kind of like watching over me in a way to make sure everything goes smooth. He's always with, well, there's always some form of a Lyerian with me because I am an honorary 12th prince of the House of Maa'Kaa for my place in what I have done in with the Lyerians and working with them. That is an honorary title that I hold with them. So they are consistently with me. I have bodyguards. Oh yeah, another thing I didn't mention for the diplomacy that I'm going to be doing is that I have a Pleiadian guard. She's about 7 feet tall. I don't know her name. She has red hair. She's also my tutor, my diplomatic tutor. I have 2 other bodyguards as well, and a scribe that go with me off world everywhere I go. I am not allowed to. Well, I can defend myself, but I'm not carrying a weapon. I'm not garbed or clothed or have anything to do with war or fighting. This is all very official, very diplomatic. There is no war in diplomacy. If someone's yelling or screaming at you, you sit down at the table, you have a conversation. There is no violence. You don't resort. Violence is the last resort that you resort to in diplomacy ever. In fact, there is no option for violence in diplomacy. Strictly, period. You can't do that. That is why weapons are not allowed into the chambers. All the bodyguards stay outside of the chambers for diplomacy. If there's any kind of a situation, everybody has personal shields. There are some high-level council members that carry personal weapons for defense, and that is it. No assault weapons. It's all personal defense. And they have psionics and abilities. They can disappear. They're connected in with their people, so constantly being monitored if anything happens. That is what I'm learning in diplomacy. It's all about negotiation, sitting down, being cordial, and the highest amount and level of emotional control. Period. That's what diplomacy is about.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Can feel that.
Yep. So that's about all I have for tonight. I'm probably going to do a few more lives or possibly some posts. I do not know, but this is as far as I am allowed to share with what I've seen and with what I have been a part of.
Thank you for
Yeah,
sharing
thank you
that.
for sharing all of it too.
My pleasure, 100%.
I was seeing if there's any questions from the audience.
Yeah, please though, any questions, I'd be happy to answer, or at least attempt to.
I don't see any. Christy, do you want to add anything too about any messages or anything you want to share too?
Yeah, it's just I just want to say I know we're all in this together. And it's really important to just hold the space right now. You know, we all kind of have an insight, I think, of what's going on, but really important to just hold that heart space together, all of us, and not combat with each other. I know it's really difficult down on the earth to not feel that way sometimes, and I'm no exception to the rule either. But hold that coherent in your heart space and try not to call other people out on stuff or just argue, or hold the frequency, hold the high frequency if you can. I'm trying to on my end, and it's been challenging. I'm not gonna lie about it.
Same. Yep.
We all need to really focus on holding our space.
I definitely.
We're all in this boat
Percent.
together, so.
Yep. What you said. Yep. All the way. Yep.
Yeah, love one another, if anything.
That's what changes. Unconditional love is what changes people's lives.
Mhm.
A,
And
a hand reach.
love yourself. Love yourself
Yep.
because you're worthy of it. We've all kind of forgotten who we are, and it's all about the remembering things. It's about the remembrance. So, you know, we're here for a very specific event called the Great Awakening. And we're all in the midst of it, whether we want to be in it or not. So love each other, love yourself, love one another, try to hold that space, and hold on for the ride. It's only going to get better.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Hold fast.
Yeah.
Hmm. And it's all about choice. We have choices, you know. It's up to us to choose whether we want to be on that frequency or whether we want to be on a lower frequency. So hopefully you
Yep.
want to choose a higher frequency for all of humanity and this beautiful planet that we live on.
It's a great adventure.
Yeah, really.
Well, okay. I don't know if there's any questions. I just seen them commenting amongst each other. Yeah, there's not any questions. I guess they could message either one of you on Facebook if
Yep.
they have any
Yep.
questions.
Feel free to direct message me on Facebook. On Facebook, I am Tim Seabury. That is the Earth title I go by. But topside, I am Jack Allen Daniel Flynn.
Mm-hmm.
So, yep, that's who I am off world. Here, just Tim. So
Okay.
just feel free to message me. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And
Okay.
I'm Kristy Mae Wixon if you want to find me on Facebook. Yeah,
Yep.
reach
And
out.
I
I'd be happy to talk with you.
yeah. Do y'all have YouTube channels or anything too? Do you have that?
I have a YouTube channel that I have not uploaded anything to
Okay.
per se, but yeah, I'm just kind of like I just have an account. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Alrighty.
I do. I have one. I will find it and send you a link to it.
Okay. I'll put it in the video then too. So
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you
Very
both for
cool.
coming on here and sharing everything too. I appreciate it. And
Thank you,
um
Chris.
yeah.
It's been a real treat, Christy. Thank you so much for taking
Yeah.
the time out of your busy schedule to allow for this
Yeah,
and
I
to hold
need
that
to
to hold that space.
it's something that I'm learning about the names of things too, because something's been just blocked or something within me with names. So as you talk, then it opens up right away for me. So it helps me. Like
Good.
my whole head has been buzzing the whole
Oh,
That's
time.
good.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Right on.
Yeah, so
Heck
it's
yeah.
good. It's good.
That's
Okay.
awesome.
Well, I'll end it then and thank you all for watching and everybody have a good night, okay?